part this year in a research project that's based at Garden Organic down at Ryton on Dunsmore, which is just outside Coventry, and they've been researching what crops that people are growing in the UK that aren't traditional to be grown here. So they've been going around the allotment sites in Leicester and Birmingham predominantly to find out what different plants people have brought with them when they've moved to the UK. So if they've grown something in their homeland, what they've brought with them to the UK, and then those people have potentially gained a lot of knowledge about what can be grown here that we didn't know could be grown, but also the plants will have started to adapt as well. And there's some of the plants that we've grown have all been harvested now. We've saved a lot of the seed because one of the aims of the project, the wider project, is to enable other gardeners to potentially buy those seeds and to sell them, and so that they can grow them in their own gardens. If our climate changes significantly, then we might not be able to grow some of the vegetables we've always grown in the UK. So it's quite an interesting option, and it's interesting because of the different flavours and different options we've got, really. So there's a few different things in here. Obviously, being in the polytunnel is really beneficial. If we didn't have the tunnel structures, we wouldn't be able to grow a lot of the exotics because it wouldn't be warm enough to just give them a bit extra shelter. So our first one, which I hope you agree is quite impressive, this little fella down here, he's very spiky. This is an African horned melon or an African horned cucumber. He's very, very spiky, so I have to be quite careful how I hold him. We have eaten one, and it tasted a lot like a cucumber with a bit of a sort of a lemony citrus flavour. They should ripen and go orange, and then they taste like kiwi fruit apparently, but none have ripened yet, and it's now the middle of November and I'm not convinced they will. So this is Doody. We have two different types of Doody. You'll see another one in a minute. And these have been really interesting for me as a grower because we don't have pollinating insects or birds that are suitable in this country to pollinate the flowers. If you don't pollinate the flowers, you still get the fruits, which are the little ones. I can't see one near me, but I'm sure you'll spot some really quite little ones. The problem is that they won't have seeds in them. They won't have viable seed that then we can potentially harvest the seeds and grow them again next year. In order to achieve that, we have to put the male and the female flowers together. There's a nice loud phone going past. So they're really interesting as a grower because, as I say, the flowers won't be pollinated and produce viable seed without us getting involved, basically. So like a lot of the pumpkin, squash, cucumber, the cucurbit family, they have male and female flowers. And you can tell visually just by looking at them with a bit of knowledge. There's another train. We've got male and female flowers, so what we had to do in order to achieve the fruits that are going to produce the viable seed to enable other people to grow them, we had to put the male and female flowers together, tie them together so that the female flower was still on the plant. The male flower could be detached from the plant because he was fairly useless after he'd done his bit. So the female flower stayed attached to the plant so that the fruit could grow. This particular one shouldn't be quite this shape. This one I tied up the day before I went on holiday and then forgot to tell anyone to take them apart again. Hence he's grown with this lovely shape where the string was when I tied the flowers together. So in here on the round Doody we've got 3 fruits, and the plants are just starting to die back now. It's not been particularly cold, but the days are getting shorter, so the plant knows it's getting towards winter. So we're just waiting for these to ripen, and then hopefully we'll be able to save the seed from them, send them back to the project down near Coventry, and they'll be able to firstly establish whether they've grown, whether they're growing true to type as well, so whether they've crossed with anything else, and then potentially make them available to other growers. I have just picked a small one and taken it home this weekend. I haven't tried eating it yet. I've googled it and I haven't found any particularly appetising recipes. So that is Doody. This is the fruit of the shark fin melon. Shark fin melon. So they grow very similar to the doody that we just saw. But the plants have died off now because they can grow outside. And this is the fruit. And off 5 plants we had 19 fruits. I now am looking for something to do with it. I've tried eating it raw, and that was alright. It had a very faint melon flavour. And I need to find a recipe for shark fin soup and use the shark fin melon in shark fin soup, because apparently it's used as a substitute in shark fin soup, and that's why it's called shark fin melon. And in Peru they make jam out of it, and I'm very, very, very keen jam maker, so I might try and make some jam out of it. I think that might be about the most exciting thing I can find to do with it. So if anybody's got any good recipes for shark fin melon, or you want to take one home, please give me a shout, because at the end of the day we've got lots. And these are our lovely pumpkins and winter squashes that we have grown this year as well. Okay, so this is a different type of the doody plant that we saw in the other tunnel with the really big round fruits. This is a long type. So again, this is the one that we had to pollinate the flowers. So this is what the fruit looks like without without the flower being pollinated. I tried it on a couple of these and only one took. And this is the fruit that we've got from the flower that we did pollinate. It's caused quite a few jokes, can't imagine why. So hopefully this again will be full of viable seed. So when it ripens, which should be fairly soon, then we can send it off to the project. I'm not paying the postage on that. I think it'd be cheaper to drive it there actually. Round here we've got a couple more of our exotic crops. These are, I think, probably my favourite of all of the weird and wonderful things we've grown this year. These are mouse melons, and they're those little stripy speckly looking dudes in there. That's as big as they get. They taste again like cucumber. They're really, really crunchy. I think they're going to be great on a salad. We've eaten quite a lot of them, but now I'm leaving the fruits that are left on to ripen so that hopefully we can gather some more seed. Some of these plants I'd like to grow again next year, and this is definitely one of them. Quite a lot of our produce we sell to a couple of restaurants in the city, and that helps to bring funding in for the project. And I think on the top of a salad they'd look quite funky, really. They are lovely. I'm very fond of them. We've grown several other sorts of exotic crops. We've tried yard-long beans, which, as the name suggests, should be beans that are a yard long, which is a metre for all you metric people. But they didn't really do very well. They like a really hot summer, and we haven't had a hot summer. We've tried Jamaican red peas, all sorts of different strange crops, some of which we've eaten, some of which we haven't, I have to say. But in the buckets just down here, we've also tried to grow Edos, which are, Edo is an African potato type vegetable. It grows underground as our potatoes do, but they're brown and hairy. You often see them on the market. We've also grown lemongrass, which is in the bucket down there with a few weeds, and lots of different exotic things really. So hopefully what we've done, we've studied the plants that we've grown quite carefully to enable the people who are doing the research to have a bit more information about how they grow in different conditions. Then potentially we're looking to then get some of the different weird and wonderful, as I like to call them, vegetables out into some seed catalogues next year maybe, or if not the year after, and then everybody will have the opportunity to grow some different stuff. And certainly there's a lot of stuff that I think we'd like to grow again next year. So that's my tour of our freaky vegetables.